So thank you, everyone. I think we have a very good turnout today, despite all of the traffic in Bangkok and sunny weather. So very lovely to have you again. And this is the very first panel of the morning of the Funding the Commons. And we have a lot of the amazing builders in the space. And I think I'm very proud that we also can gather a lot of builders from Southeast Asia as well for this event. So maybe can we just give each of you like maybe 30 seconds if you can do lightning introduction about you and what you are doing in the space, starting with Thisana.
Sure. Hello. Hey. Hi, I'm Thisana, CEO and co-founder of Noburo. So Noburo started off with a mission that we wanted to reduce the wealth inequalities in Thailand. So the problem now in Thailand is that Thailand, also ASEAN, we see a lot of economic growth, access to credit. But with that together, we started to see that lots of the labor who have access to credit, they started to have a bad credit. Especially in Thailand, we have a problem of the 90% of the household debt to the GDP. And Noburo is born to solve that problem. So what we do is that we are providing financial literacy and financial skills to the blue-collar workers and together with their financial access. And so far we have been working with over 190 companies, large corporates in Thailand, to provide these services as a financial welfare to their workers. Yeah.
Thank you, Thisana. Mo?
Hi everyone, Mo from Thailand. So my journey in agriculture in Thailand started about 4 years ago when COVID happened here. It's a company called Happy Grocers. If anybody is from Bangkok, you may have heard of it before because we are literally like almost everywhere. But yeah, so we started with a mission that if we could create a market for conscious consumers that are interested in sustainably grown organic products, then we would be able to convince farmers to convert into organic. And about a year ago, we did realize that if we really want to make radical change at scale in Thailand, we really need to engage with conventional farmers, so economic crops. And that's when we started to spin off to Happy Ground, where we work specifically with biochar and supporting corporates to deploy this solution at scale. So we're talking about supply chains that have about 10 to 50,000 farmers with a land of around at least 64,000 hectares of land across Thailand. And yeah, so this is where a lot of technology and digital solution comes into our work, from rigorous system for us to collect data on the ground so that we can create predictive modeling to understand better what it looked like if we would deploy solution like biochar across their supply chain so that we can convince corporates to be able to confidently adopt new solution to decarbonize their supply chain. And that's what we are doing.
Hi, I'm Arch. I'm from Thailand as well. Actually, I wear two hats. The first one is I founded a social enterprise in Thailand about 10 years ago called Social Giver. And it's a way to revolutionize fundraising by converting lifestyle spending into funding for social projects. So how that looks is from the viewpoint of consumers, is we actually have like a deal website where people buy gift cards from businesses. But the gift cards actually we get for free from the businesses. And when you make a purchase, you actually donate the money to social projects. So we work with hotels, restaurants, spas, activities, events. So essentially, you can stay a night at a hotel and fund a child's education for a year, things like that. So we supported a range of causes and we work with over 500 businesses now. The second one is more a Web3 project that I recently started called Wildchain. And it's wildlife conservation using blockchain and games. So essentially, like, we're trying to gamify the giving experience, and we're inspired by games like Pokemon Go and Tamagotchi. And what we want to do is we want to have people adopt digital pets that help raise funds for endangered animals that actually live in the wild. So how that looks is you actually have like a sanctuary where you hatch magic eggs, and these eggs hatch into different animals with different rarities. And as you raise them in your sanctuary and as you beautify your sanctuary, you can plant trees, you can grow your sanctuary, and these in-game actions actually translate to real-world impact. So as you're planting a tree in the game, we plant a tree in the real world. As you expand your land, we protect fragile ecosystems that need help protecting. So Wildchain is only just starting. We haven't officially launched yet, but yeah.
All right, thank you everyone. So this is Nicole. I'm the local partner to Funding the Commons this time, and we run a Web3 builders community in Asia called APAC DAO. I'm half Thai, half Vietnamese, practicing on my Thai at the moment, but definitely very keen to spend more time here. So now, I mean, we only have 25 minutes of the panel, so I would appreciate if everyone, going straight to the point, be very concise about what we're going to be discussing, because one of the topics that we would like to discuss is definitely relates to what you are building in the space and your personal story of how you are getting here. So I think the first question I would like to ask you is, you have already given us the context of how you start the business, but we would want to understand how you come here as a person, like what is your motivation? Like personal motivation to do this, and do you think that what you are doing is very unique to Thailand, or it's it can be something that people in other countries might come across at some point? Maybe with Thisana first, if you could take that question.
So to tell you about the story about how I started Noburo. So I was having a class in my graduate school about the social businesses. And that time was my first time to learn about like how social business could actually provide like balancing the purpose and profit together. And that time I feel like I have a privilege of like me getting a scholarship to study in Japan, and while the rest of like around 80% of the people couldn't even graduate from undergraduate school. So I was thinking like, hey, I want to go back to Thailand and do something for my country. But luckily, so that time, my family business, my dad, he called me back to the family business while I was doing a consultant in Japan. And I was shocked by the amount of how much my family business employees are in debt. So that was the starting point of like starting of Noburo. So I started to understand what happened. So they have like a decent amount of salary already as operational workers, but they have an access to the credit card and cash card and loans for almost like 50% of 50 times of their salary. So that time I started saying, okay, what is happening? They get access to finance, but they don't have any control or management on their own financial management at all. So that is the first time I started to seek out like how could I find a solution to help them from being in debt to being in wealth, right? So and luckily in 2018 there was a DTAC Accelerate program. And I after having been doing this pilot project for some time, I applied this project as in an accelerator, and then luckily I got chosen to become in the accelerator. And 3 months passed, and they had pushed us to find the first customer, where our first believer were the one of the largest food chain company in Thailand called Barbecue Plaza. If you have had a chance to eat it here. So that's the first time we started up Noburo. So Noburo is actually coming from the word no credit bureau. So we're helping the people who are having a bad credit history or cannot access to credit at all to be able to get their second chance if they have failed once, and then give them like a belief that they could actually change their life, right? So what we do actually is we provide, first of all, the financial literacy and also financial planning for the low-income workers. So think about like the financial planning, it only happens to the people with wealth, right? But if you are poor, you don't have any money, nobody's going to care about your financial health, right? So we provide this kind of tools to help them diagnose their financial health and also providing them with the debt management planning for these low-income workers to know how they should be paying off their debt so that they could get off all those debt trap as soon as, and how they could actually move themselves from being in debt to have like start savings. So
Is there something particular to Thailand, you think?
yes, as I mentioned earlier, that so in Thailand we see a very big problem of household debt, right? And if you take a look into that, the 90% of GDP of the household debt is contributing to consumer loan. And why is it serious? Is because consumer loan doesn't provide assets or doesn't help you to grow your income, right? So we and when you try to take a look at like how they come up with this big amount of loan, it's actually coming from the mismanagement of their finance. And also another thing is also from they don't have any financial literacy or financial skills to actually manage their own finance.
Okay, yeah, we're talking about touch a bit on literacy, which I think is very important in education as well. And I think that would maybe open up some areas for Mo and Arch to discuss about what they're doing, because apparently doing good is not easy at some point when people don't know that it's good. So in your case, what are you doing, to actually be able to really communicate the message and get it come across to the people that it actually matters?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, maybe I can go next. Yeah, so thanks for the question. Maybe I can answer it from the perspective of what's missing in the agriculture sector in Thailand, what are challenges, why most of the farms are not adopting regenerative agriculture solution yet. I would say that maybe I started from like fast forward 2017 first. How I got into the whole agriculture sector was when I was a student. So MIT was here for like an International Development Design Summit in 2017. And that was the first time that I get to work with 80 people from 14 countries, all technical people. And I was just like cute little intern with my co-founder and see that there's actually a gap to bridge these international talents to local farms. And that kind of inspired our work in 2020 when we started Happy Grocer as a response to COVID of the farm-to-table grocery delivery. We took that experience to really understand about what's actually missing in the food ecosystem that allow farmers to be able to effectively convert into a regenerative farm. So access to market is one thing, but it's actually a solution that's scalable, and also the financing mechanism that would allow them to go through that process. And in Thailand, subsidy from government doesn't exist when it comes to regenerative agriculture transition. So that's when we see the sweet spot where if we can convince corporates that work with tens of thousands of farmers to buy in with our solution, then they could be the one to fund us, because most of the factories, for example, sugar factories, cassava factories, or rice mill, they already give loans to farmers. Then it would be a chance for us to scale solution like BioShar, for example. So the key solution we're working on here is called BioShar. Have you guys heard of this term before? Amazing. I'm just going to do a quick recap then. So what we do in Thailand is that we turn agricultural or industrial bio-waste, so like coconut husk, coffee husk, rice star, or sugarcane leaves, sugarcane bagasse, something like that, into a type of charcoal that's really good at absorbing nutrients. It acts like a sponge that would allow farmers to gradually reduce the use of synthetic chemical fertilizer, increase the water holding capacity of the soil, and long term would allow them to basically be less reliant on things like nitrogen fertilizer, for example, because the soil is overall more healthy. So what we do is that we form a team of PhD scientists working specifically on soil science to really go down on the farm. Right now we are working with a sugar company up in Nakhon Sawan, which is the north of Thailand, close to my hometown. I'm from Phichit, by the way. And what we do is that we go on the ground, really looking at proving to farmers that BioShar actually have tangible outcome where we prove farmers can see exactly how much return investment they can get and how much healthier the soil can become, or how much more carbon we can put more into the soil. So something that we discovered that's missing before we jump into working on this ourselves is that there are solutions out there that are doing predictive modeling for agricultural yield, but most of the time they would use things like satellite data. And it works really well with like large scale farm, but in Thailand we have a really unique characteristic of our farm where sometimes it's just like 3 acre, 5 acre, 10 acre. So, and it's not like a straight square shape. And so most of the time when you have, let's say 10% error, it means a loss of like 5 million US dollars of the company. And so when we got in touch with this sugar company, they expressed to us that, okay, we don't have the capacity to collect ground data outside of what we're already doing on day-to-day basis. You're gonna need to have to like help us do this, and then we would love to work with you. And that's when we started to look into IoT, automated ground data collection, but also taking the actual soil sample to collect the data as well. And yeah, so this is like actually still in early phase. If anybody wanna learn more, we'll be happy to talk about it. But to answer your questions around if this is similar to the context of other countries, so Thailand is really unique where most of our economic crops, including rice, cassava, rubber, palm, and maize, these are crops that most of the tropical countries also grow. So my investor kind of like, hey, you need to like do a bigger like assessment of how big the market is, and kind of forced me to look into what are the possibilities for us to apply this solution into. And when we discovered that actually we can utilize the data in Thailand to predict as well what it would look like to apply biochar in countries that have similar climate profile. But I guess that's my answer to your question.
I think that definitely touched on a very interesting topic about scaling. I think we were gonna go back to that because that definitely, I think that definitely in the impact goods, impact social goods, public space, people always thought about like scaling. But the question is, when is a good time, and how would you be able to do that properly? To be able to actually still deliver the key mandates that you are doing. So I think we've been talking about, of course, like Noburo and Happy Grocers. You've been working, I think, dealing with corporates as well as the grassroots people, how to be able to bridge both of them. And I guess maybe like when we turn to Wildchain is another story where basically I think you are working with a different set of audience and stakeholders. So maybe can you share with us a little bit on what kind of key target audience that you are working with, and whether what you are doing might be replicable to other countries?
Yeah. So actually, Wildchain, our primary I think like we're trying to get everyone more interested in general in wildlife conservation and nature conservation. And we felt like one of the ways to do that would be to create this gamified platform, right? And it turns out like to be more and more of a game as we moved along. I think like initially when we started out, it was just gonna be like NFTs. And then it was like, oh, how do we make this more interesting, more engaging? And then it's like, oh, we need to build some more game features in here and there. And then, oh, it became a sanctuary. And now you take care of a sanctuary in your mobile phone. So I think like, yeah, I think when we started, it was supposed to be a lot simpler. And as we developed it, it was like more just adding things to make it more and more interesting. So for us, we started with the problem in mind. I think a few years ago, a lot of people probably saw that this UN came out saying like we only have 12 years left to prevent irreversible climate change, and that's what got us started to think about like, okay, how are we going to solve this? And I think for us, it's always been about like how do we get the general public more interested and more engaged, and how do we offer a tool that anyone can use to make a difference, and something that can basically integrate into people's daily lives. So our solution was to kind of bridge into the gaming and blockchain markets. And one of the ideas behind Wildchain was to have NFTs that were limited by the number of actual wildlife populations. So if there were, let's say, 400 wild asses left in the world, there would only be 400 left in Wildchain. And that would create like a digital scarcity that's actually related to the real world. And people who would adopt these wild asses, I don't know why I picked that animal, would basically help to raise funds and protect these actual animals. And if their population grew, they would have a chance to get an airdrop of these baby wild asses. But if the population went down, then actually like some wild asses in Wildchain would actually die as well. So you could actually lose your NFTs that way. So, yeah.
All right. That sounds very interesting. Definitely very keen to try that out, especially if it's more of a game than like a preserving kind of mission. But I think that also brings back I think a key question that I would like to ask is that we are talking about scaling. And I think we would also have a bit of time left. So I want to ask, number one, do you think that your project is already is ready to scale at this point? If it is, what is needed, in terms of the tech stacks or non-tech stacks that you would like to try out? And maybe we can start from there and see what else. Is there anything that you would be able to partner up or collaborate with the people here in this room to make that happen? Maybe we can start with Arch first. Number one, is it ready to scale?
No. No, but I think like we are launching for a global audience anyway.
Okay.
But we realized that it takes a lot of time to develop a game that is truly engaging. So how we decided to go about it is we actually have like an alpha version out. It's in the App Store, but we just basically have not promoted it. And we're basically learning from our early adopters, from people who, I guess like anyone who wants to try and help, they can download the game, try it out, and give us feedback in our Discord channels. Okay. And then we're from the learnings that we're getting from a few hundred users that we have right now, we're basically just rebuilding and shaping things in order to be more ready for like a bigger rollout. Yeah, so
more like product pivoting and
refinement. We're still trying to fit the product to the market.
Okay. Okay. All right. How about you, Mo?
Yeah. So in my work, I think 80% of my work is like still in the phase where we have to collect ground data, and I think that is like our magic power, I would say, because like I think something that's missing. I mean, most of the time we would assume that farmers wouldn't want to adopt certain solution, but in my opinion, I think it's more that scientists and people who would enable this data collection are not keen to go down on the ground. But with our team, we have like a really big team of scientists and people that would work really closely with farmers. Because I mean, as much as it's about weather data collection, soil sample, it's also about understanding the cultural aspect of what would enable farmers to adopt or not adopt the solution as well. Let it be the financing mechanism or just whether it's gonna be able to seamlessly integrate into their daily life. And I would say that that is our expertise. But when it comes to tech, I think I would could really use the help in this room to be more exposed to people with expertise that could be applicable to our work. We have a software engineer in our team, but I think when it comes to looking at global scaling of our product, definitely we would love to be more connected to more builders around the world as well to make this happen together.
For Noburo, I think we have moved from the product market fit to the growth, coming just early on the growth stage. So we started to see lots of corporates coming to talk with us that they really want this solution. But the difficult part on like onboarding the low-income workers is that we're providing the financial management, financial tools for them to do the budgeting and learning and financial education, right? But they don't like learning. They don't like to come and feeling like finance is already a very headache for them, right? So there's a lot of things we need to do on like onboarding this group of people, and what we're trying to do to on the scaling up. So there's a part when we do the data collection on their debt profile, like how many loans do they have. And now we are still like using technology, which is all those like OCR and the AI that try to predict, try to help the debt counselor talks to the workers of like how they could manage their finance, and then they could see their debt planning on the application. But still, we still have people in our process. So that part, we're trying to find like a solution, especially for AI, to actually help like a partial part of like onboarding those workers onto our platform.
All right, I think we are coming to the end of the panel. So I do have, I was able to learn a lot from you guys. I think definitely if anyone in the room is keen to learn more about how to engage the corporates as well as working with the grassroots people, either through traditional product or through gamified experience, I believe that all of our panelists here have very diverse experience to share. And hopefully, I think they have already given out some topics or things or areas that we can work together on, whether it's tech or non-tech product, or whether it's about growing the product or growing user base on an international scale. So hopefully that we will be able to reconnect with all of the panelists afterwards as well to learn about Thailand as well as how to grow the product in other parts of the world. So again, thank you so much for being here, everyone, and looking forward to reconnecting after this. Thank you.